So 5 components need to be a part of the leader: being emotionally self-aware, able to regulate his emotions, able to have empathy towards the people, able to have the right social skills so that he can build the rapport, he can have the right communication skills, he's able to listen to his team properly so that he's able to respond to them effectively, and also being motivated and motivating.
Hello and welcome to the Honest Talk by Freak Folks. I'm Harsh Pandey. For this particular session, our guest will be Ms. Siji Varghese ma'am, who is here with us. She is a TEDx speaker, UN Karamveer Chakra recipient, professional speaker, international behavioral facilitator, and coach. So, first of all, ma'am, I welcome you to in this session. Thank you so much for joining and agreeing to share your thoughts with us.
Thank you so very much, Harsh, for having me here. It's a real privilege to be with you all today.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's our pleasure too. So, moving to the topic of today's session, which we have chosen is emotional intelligence in leadership. Why it's important. Ma'am, my very first question to you is: how do you define actually emotional intelligence? It's a kind of request. You kindly please explain our viewers.
So there are many things that, there's many school of thoughts, and the one school of thought we all follow is Daniel Goleman, who is the originator of emotional intelligence. So if I have to speak about emotional intelligence from what I understand, is how it's that kind of an intelligence with which you are able to understand your own emotions and manage your emotions in such a way that you are able to connect with yourself, one, and also able to manage it in such a way that with others too you are able to kind of get the emotions in its right balance.
All right, ma'am. Ma'am, is there actually the types of emotional intelligence? If it is, then ma'am, please actually tell our viewers how many types are these kind of emotional intelligences.
So if you actually look at, it's not called as the types of emotional intelligence, but there are 5 components of emotional intelligence. So we talk about self-awareness is the first part. Then we talk about self-regulation. Then we talk about motivation, empathy, and social skills. So if I have to just give you a little brief about what each of it means. So self-awareness is a component where, for example, you are in a space or I'm in a space of anger. The very fact that I'm able to understand and I'm angry right now is self-awareness, right? So many a time when we are in a state of anger, we are not knowing that we are angry, and then we kind of do what we do, right? But the moment you know you are angry, you could probably do something to subside it, because keep getting angry does not get you anywhere. The outcome of your anger is not going to be something really good. So just by virtue of being aware, that helps us to have able to manage our emotions in a much better manner. So if you want to be more aware about your emotions, one, catch yourself with different emotions at different times. Like what are you facing through, or what are you going through in the first half of the day, in the noon time, in the evening time? Just keep observing you. So you will come to know what are the typical emotions that surfaces up throughout the day with respect to what's happening. People maintain a journal just to reflect on what happened, how the emotions, what was their awareness level when they were capturing the whole day, or they learn to meditate so that they can get in more congruence with understanding, more awareness as to how their emotions are playing up. So there are many ways that you can build on your self awareness. The second part is the self regulation. So it's just like how you see the regulator of a fan. Depending on what are the kind of people around, or what is the kind of circumstance that you need to be mindful about regulating your emotions at that spur of the moment. So first and foremost is like, you have to learn to accept your own emotions. So some of us may be highly emotional, highly too very sensitive. Some people may be very short tempered. Some people may be very unemotional, like rather very detached. So we may have, so accepting that is very important. So then we know how to regulate it at the time when we know when we have to display it or not display it. The third thing is empathy. Empathy is like when you are able to get into the shoes or view from the other person's point of view also. So how do you go about doing that? Engage yourself in some activity where you can see what are the perceptual positions of people, what are they going through, how is it that they are working through, and what is the way you can connect with them or bond over them. The fourth important thing is the social skills. It's all about how we interact with each other, how we connect with each other, what's the rapport that we build. So are you ready to have great listening skills? What kind of communication skills do you have? How do you build the rapport? All these are very important in social skill. And finally, it's about motivation. So motivation is more intrinsic rather than extrinsic. So when I say intrinsic, it's like I should be able to celebrate all my small wins. So after today's talk show, we will go around and celebrate it. That's emotionally being happy because you're celebrating that. And then you can go ahead and set small goals for yourself rather than big goals, because goal setting, if we do a big goals and it becomes too difficult for us to reach there, we may get demotivated in the journey. So it's like small goals, like okay, my 30 minutes of talk, and that's a goal in itself. So you go ahead and celebrate that. So these are the 5 components: self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, social skills, and motivation. So that's the 5 components of emotional intelligence.
Indeed, ma'am. I think you have very beautifully explained and exactly explained what are the types and what does it mean. Ma'am, my next question to you is: can emotional intelligence be taught, or just it is a lifelong attempt to learn from the experiences or journey?
So I basically feel emotional intelligence is not something that can be taught per se, but yes, it can be developed. So, for example, the moment Harsh is aware, right, what his top of his mind feeling is at the moment, what kind of emotions he is bringing to the table right now, what is he feeling right now. Even if he is aware of that much, half the battle is won. So it's being constantly in touch with yourself. It cannot be like I'm teaching you a theory. Okay, there are 5 components of emotional intelligence. Do this, do that. It's something that's a personal journey for each one of us. So some of times we may go fast in that journey. Sometimes we take a long time to reach there. It also depends on what are some of the measures that we take. Like as I said, if you want to be self-aware, are you ready to reflect and write down your into that journal? Are you ready to meditate and be with yourself to know more about you while you're with others? Are you ready to know them a little more, recognize how you're behaving with each one of them? So Harsh may have different sets of friends. There are some group of people whom he meets and he's like all different kind of a person, and his emotions with them are different. But then there are some kind of people he's like a little irritated. He gets irritated with them, so suddenly there is a change in his emotions. So thing is not that I can keep teaching him. Thing is that Harsh should be mindful. When is that I'm not feeling good about emotions? When I'm with whom am I the persons? What should I do so that I can get it more further developed? How can I get more intelligent with it? Why should I get intelligent with it? Because I know emotions play a big role in my life. Emotions means emotion, which is energy in motion. Emotion is nothing but energy in motion. So every energy or every emotion has an energy behind it. When you're in love, there's an energy behind it. When you're in anger, there's an energy behind it. So how am I managing my energies of my body? And then am I a positive energy or am I a negative energy? That's where it comes to. So all this, I believe, is that's not to be taught. It's something that you develop for yourself as you grow in your journey. That's my understanding. But teaching would be just theory, nothing more.
Indeed, ma'am, you have told many important points, and one which I like the most is that, and I'm quite impressed. You have told emotion is energy in motion, and I think the viewers who are watching, they are surely going to find us insightful. Ma'am, my next question to you is: what is the difference between emotional intelligence and wisdom?
Okay, so wisdom is you have a lot of experiences in life. We all have experiences in life. And we get wise over the period of time because we are using those experiences to get evolved in our journeys, right? So the Siji which you saw 20 years back would have had lesser experiences, and she would have been lesser wise because, and sometimes you don't even get wise or there's no wisdom coming in. We just go with the rut of our lifetime. There's no maturity, there's not evolvement. So again, wisdom is again something which comes with you having aware about your own journey, one, and you are in the pursuit of evolving to this extent that you want to make use of all the experiences that you have garnered. So wisdom is good. Wisdom has emotional intelligence, has a part of wisdom in it. Of course, in when you're getting emotionally intelligent, there's a lot of the wisdom that you would need to derive from the past experiences because you are evolving. So I wouldn't state that they are two different things, but I feel it's one part of the emotional intelligence is to have the right kind of wisdom. So you cannot be without you cannot be intelligent, emotionally intelligent, without the component of wisdom. So wisdom is as good. So emotional intelligence is basically how do I manage my emotions depending on the people, on the consequences, what I'm expecting, and on the circumstance that or the situation that I am, and how can I have the best outcome for myself, right? So many of the times when we have negative emotions in play, the the fight goes out of proportion, the talk goes out of in a destructive manner, everything blows like into ugly proportions. But when you want to really manage and have the consequence or the desired outcome as per your desire, then you definitely go and manage it in such a way that everything is going to be the way you wanted it. So I think
So
wisdom
can
is an integral part of emotional intelligence.
indeed, ma'am. So can we conclude that wisdom is a subset of emotional intelligence?
Absolutely.
All right, ma'am.
You need to have wisdom.
Yes. Ma'am, my next question to you is what is the relationship between emotional intelligence and leadership? How do you define it?
Oh my God, this is a brilliant question. And I always feel as leaders, you need to have or be emotionally intelligent. And whether you're working with the millennial workforce or the workforce, the Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Y, any generation, emotional intelligence is of paramount importance. It's like when we say, it's not what you told to me, but how you made me feel makes all the difference. So how did your interaction with me make me feel? Like, did I feel comfortable with you? It's That's what I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. Did you make me uncomfortable or make me warm or comfortable, whatever it could be? So as leaders, it's of paramount importance, one, to be aware about your own emotions, because if you are in control and able to manage your emotions, you are able to manage emotions of the people around you too. So for example, if your team is doing something which you don't really like, or if there is an individual in your group who is not doing what he should be ideally doing, if you kind of blow your top, right, and if you get emotionally very irritated or angry or you blow up, obviously what you want from your team is not something that you're going to get. Instead, as leaders, it's of very big importance that you should be an emotionally intelligent leader. I mean, each and every leader needs to have those skills. And I said this, the five components need to be a part of the leader: being emotionally self-aware, able to regulate his emotions, able to have empathy towards the people, able to have the right social skills so that he can build the rapport, he can have the right communication skills, he's able to listen to his team properly so that he's able to respond to them effectively, and also be motivated and motivating. So all these components are must have for a leader, because without this you are not going anywhere. As leaders, you should be emotionally intelligent.
Indeed, ma'am. My next question to you is, or rather say, I'm very curious to know from you, ma'am, how do you describe your leadership style?
My leadership style.
Yes,
Okay,
right.
thank you for asking that. So I always feel that I am a person who is a very free flowing person, one, and I give a free hand to everyone. For me, autonomy is very important. So I kind of delegate, and I never do micromanagement. I would just give them the task and tell them to be as creative and as good as whatever they want to come out with. So it has always helped me because of the kind of freedom and the trust that I give them, that I've always been reciprocated with that trust coming from them, as well as they give their 200%. So for me, it's always worked. So I feel as a leader, I was someone who would always I wouldn't say it's a blind trust, but I would trust the person basis the experiences, my sixth sense or my intuitions or my vibes with them, So I would come to know it's not that, for me, I'm a typically easy person, I'm not the one who will look around and say, okay, I don't trust this person unless this person earned my trust. I'm on the other side of the space, where I won't trust anyone very easily unless and until they break my trust at some given point in time. So for me, trust comes very easily. So I give them that trust. I give them the autonomy. I don't do any micromanagement. So that's always all throughout my career as an corporate leader and as an entrepreneur has always helped me. Help me because they kind of give their 200% because they feel valued. They feel that there is a leader who is trusting them, and then they have to do their 200% because she trusted me this with work, with this kind of work, and I should demonstrate that I am capable and worthy of her trust, and I should not let her down, right? So this is the kind of feelers I always get, and I've never been disappointed. They have been such sweethearts to deliver it 100%.
Indeed, ma'am. My next question to you is actually this is my personal one and most favorite one. Whenever you have to deal your team, whenever you have to lead your team, there are certain type of disagreement came, and which is very obvious. My question to you is, how do you handle disagreement on your team?
I love that question as well. So I always have teams which are a very heterogeneous group, right? So that disagreements is a natural part. And in fact, I love to have disagreements because you get perspectives and you can have a holistic view of anything only if you have a perspective. What if everyone is so going to say, yes, boss, you will never grow. You will never evolve. You will never reflect and think what could go wrong. But what happens when there's a disagreement, you get I don't never allow the disagreement to go unnoticed. Or if there are like 10 people in my team and there's this one person disagreeing, I will not think that 9 has said a yes and this one is not saying, let me go with the majority. I have never done that. For me, always that one is important because I would think, what made you disagree to this? I would like to know your perspective, because I know in that perspective there's a question for me, there's a reflective point for me, because that's going to give me the process to evolve. I would go ahead and check, with everyone, whoever is disagreed, say, what is your reason of disagreement? Give me your perspective, let me understand that. So if there's a disagreement and if there's a reflective perspective, I will go back and come back to them. Go back, think about it and come back to them with the same. But if there's a disagreement which I am not connecting to, I would probably convince them towards my side. So it works both ways. Either I convince them to my side or I get convinced with what they're saying, and I would want to deep dive or delve a little more into the perspective that they're saying, and probably you come out with a much better solution for what you are working on. And that's beautiful, isn't it?
All right, ma'am. My next question to you is, or actually, it also comes very important. This is one of the most important question. I'm going to put it here. When you have to deal, when you have to deal a big team, then motivation is a key factor. My question to you is, how do you motivate your team?
So for me, as I said, I have this habit of celebrating small wins, right? So always with my team members, even the smallest of the thing, I would, and I'm very generous, I feel, with my words of appreciation and encouragement, because I feel at most of the times, money is a deciding factor. Money is a motivating factor. However, having your senior appreciating you, reciprocating you with respect, and giving you that kind of feelers that you've done a great job, that goes a long way, right? So for me, is like we would celebrate even the smallest wins, because it's a win for each of us, because there's so much that everybody goes through and there's so many struggles, even like a small thing. If there's somebody who comes from a faraway place to the office every day on time, I would go back and say to the person, I really appreciate the way you kind of manage yourself to always reach office on time, because you have a home to manage, you have a travel to manage, and you reach here always on time or before time. And that's really appreciable. So it may seem to be a small thing. It's your office. You better come on time. But I feel appreciating even that, it makes the people so connected, so evolved. They kind of look forward for those small wins. So I think celebrating small wins, having words of appreciation, not fake appreciation, but genuine, sincere appreciation. And so when you are appreciating, be specific as to what you're appreciating. Appreciating that particular behavior or the action of the person that has brought in that kind of perspective or a kind of change. So every time you appreciate someone, I think it's beautiful. That itself is a motivation. And then we kind of hang around together as a team. We go out for socials, get-togethers, have fun, like bond like a family, connect, have the family members involved with us. So there's a buying in of the family members also to see that they have small little goals in their professional life which they want to. So they're connected. So everyone is involved, everyone is connected. So back at home also they would ask, what did you do at workplace today? Or how are you going to do your next year? What's your target for the next year? So forth and so on. So there's a small little into, because you have involved everyone in the group, including the family, and which is beautiful. So I think being a lady out here always helps, because women are always wanting to create that special rapport, even beyond the individual, to the family as well.
It's really great idea, and I think we all need to, as you have told, and I think the viewers, those who are watching, they are surely going to take it as we need to celebrate every moment of our life. We need to embrace every moment of our life. It is the precious one. Ma'am, my next question to you is: how do you measure success for you as a leader?
I think for any leader, for that matter, success would be when you have created more leaders under you, with you. So when I'm leaving the space or I'm moving next level, I should be knowing that there are enough leaders to be in succession. So the day you feel that you have produced more leaders along with you, that's the success rate. So we don't want followers. We as leaders should always be in the space where we are creating more leaders, not people who are dependent on you for the rest of your life or following you. I don't want followers. I want people who will walk along with me. So, and I feel that's worked for me big time, because I've always observed that whenever I am moving on ahead or moving out, I've always seen that my successions have been really able to elevate themselves to the next level effortlessly, because we always, the process was to create them as leaders and make them self-sufficient. So I think creating more leaders is something that will be your measure of success. So if I had a team of 10, how many leaders did I go around and produce or create out of those 10? That is my measure of success. That's what my personal perspective is.
Indeed, ma'am. Again, it was a great message. And my next question to you is: I want to know from you experience, what is the most difficult part of being leader?
As being a leader, what's the most difficult one? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, ma'am. What is?
So,
Yes, sir, please continue.
uh, yeah. So for me, I guess being a leader, I wouldn't say it was a difficult thing. What I've always felt in my journey is like, if I have to look in the hindsight now, that every time you feel something is difficult, right? There's some or the other way you can always move or navigate that. So as leader, I would always have a senior or a mentor, right? I would always have a mentor whom I would look up to. And my to go-to person whenever I'm stuck as a leader or in a difficult position as a leader is to go to the mentor. Because I know my mentor would have the answers all to help me navigate through those situations. So I wouldn't say it was a difficult thing. I enjoyed the process because it was great growth professionally and personally. And I love people because I'm a people person. So for me, connecting with people, having that team, working with them, growing along, for me, that is my biggest adrenaline rush. So if you want to have me, doped on, that's my biggest dope, right? Getting that push and kick. So it wasn't difficult per se, I would say. I would say those challenging times, I would always go forward and look up to my mentor, get navigated, but I'll never give it up, because Giving up means giving up on my people, on my team, which is the last thing I would do, because I hold on till the last bit of the hope that is left, when before I give up. So that's from my side.
All right, ma'am. I can say there's a lot more to learn from you, but today I don't want to take too much of your time. So, moving to my last question of this session, or just I'm seeking advice from you. What what would be one piece of advice would you like to give all the people those who are watching this session for leadership development, how they can develop leadership qualities in themselves?
Cool. So, what I would say is that be someone who is passionate about doing what you're doing, because your passion is visible, right? When you're enjoying your work, people who are with you, they tend to get and feel the same kind of passion and the love for the space that is there for them too. And it's a beautiful space that you create when you're passionate about anything. You tend to go and learn it out of your way, take that extra effort to do things. So I believe passion, purpose is something that you should always have. So if you have the right passion and you have the right purpose, then I think that's the biggest payoff, right? I would call it as a 3P. So have the right passion with the right purpose, and the payoff is going to be amazing. So, as they very rightly say, aspire to inspire before you expire. So, as leaders, be amazing role models that they always remember you for what you brought as a value add into their lives. Add value, and you will surely reap the benefits of that. So that's my message, short and crisp. And every other skill that you need in as a leader, you need to be imbibing that, developing that. It could be your emotional intelligence, it could be your communication skills, it could be your adversity skills, how fast, if there is a setback, how quickly can you come back. It could be your creativity skills. Everything is something which is developable over the period of time. It's just practice, it's evolvement, it's experiencing that, and it's growing along with that. And that's my message. And keep smiling. That's it.
All right, ma'am. You have told a very important point. Aspire to inspire before you expire. I think this is a great message. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining and giving your important time. It was a very healthy discussion with you over the topic. We look forward to conduct more such sessions with you in future. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so very much having me here. Really a privilege.
On the ground is where I stand. Never give up, that was always the plan. It's so cold outside, I'm alone, I'm alright. It's so cold outside, I'm alone.